Hi, welcome to RJ Academy, and today I will teach to Class 12 chapter, The Rattrap. The story we are looking at was written by the Swedish author Selma Lagerlöf. Her work often explores deep moral themes, and this Class 12 text is a prime example of her style. Our protagonist doesn't even have a name. He is an impoverished peddler, a man who wanders the cold roads in ragged clothes, barely surviving by selling small handmade wire rat traps that he twists together by hand from the scrap metal he begs for. To cope with his miserable existence, he develops a dark philosophical theory. He imagines that the entire world, its lands, cities, and oceans, is nothing but one giant cage-style rat trap. The trap is set with specific bait: wealth, food, shelter, and clothing. The moment a person reaches for these comforts, the iron door snaps shut, trapping them forever. If the whole world is a cruel machine designed to ruin people, it justifies his own bitter attitude. It makes his petty thievery feel like a natural response to a system that only exists to catch him. One cold evening, this worldview gets tested. The peddler knocks on the door of a gray cottage, expecting to be chased away as usual. Instead, he is warmly welcomed by a lonely old man, a crofter who feeds him porridge and plays cards with him. But the old man makes a fatal error of trust. To prove he actually makes good money from his cow, he points out a small leather pouch hanging by the window. Inside, he shows the peddler exactly 30 kroner. The next morning, after both men leave the cottage, the peddler returns. He walks straight to the window, smashes the glass, snatches the leather pouch off its nail, and runs off with the money. He thinks he's being clever, but we have to ask, by stealing those 30 kroner, did the peddler just reach for the very cheese he warned against? With the stolen cash burning a hole in his pocket, the peddler makes a tactical decision. He can't risk walking on the open public highway where the police might spot him, so he detours into the dense, roadless woods. At first, the forest seems like a safe cover, but as the hours pass, the trees begin to look identical. The paths twist back on themselves, the woods turn into a dizzying maze, and he realizes he has been walking in endless, exhausting circles. Exhausted and freezing, a sickening wave of dread hits him. The 30 kroner was the cheese, the forest is the cage, and he is the rat. In the cold darkness of those woods, his theoretical world trap becomes a physical reality. The walls are trees, and for all his walking, there is no way out. Hearing the heavy thumps of a hammer, he gathers his last ounce of strength and drags himself toward the noise. He stumbles into the Ramshow ironworks, collapsing near the roaring heat of the furnace. The wealthy owner of the mill, the ironmaster, comes in for his nightly inspection. In the dim, flickering light, he looks at the filthy, bearded peddler and thinks he recognizes an old army comrade, Captain von Stahle. The peddler plays along, hoping for a few kroner. But when the ironmaster insists he come home for Christmas, the thief refuses. He knows stepping into a rich man's house with stolen money is like walking straight into the sheriff's office. The ironmaster gives up, but sends his daughter, Edla, to try instead. Edla speaks to the terrified man with deep empathy. Her calm persuasion finally breaks through his defenses, and he agrees to write back to their manor. The next morning, the illusion shatters. Once the servants have bathed the peddler, shaved him, and dressed him in a clean suit, the ironmaster sees him in the bright daylight. Realizing the man is a total stranger, the furious ironmaster threatens to call the police. Backed into a corner, the peddler lashes out with his philosophy. He warns the ironmaster that the whole world is a trap, and one day the wealthy man will reach for a piece of bait and get caught in the jaws himself. The ironmaster laughs and tells him to leave. But Edla steps in. She overrules her father's anger, arguing that a man who is chased away from every door all year long deserves at least one single day of unearned peace and dignity. The peddler spends that Christmas day doing something he never gets to do. He sleeps. After a life of constant paranoia, sleeping with one eye open, he rests deeply, entirely protected by Edla's promise of safety. But the next morning, the mood shifts. While the peddler is still a report of a theft, an old crofter robbed of 30 kroner by a man selling wire rat traps. They realize exactly who is back at their manor. They rush home in a panic, fully expecting to find the house stripped of its silver and their guest long gone. They arrive to find that the peddler has indeed left, but he hasn't stolen a single spoon. Instead, the servant tells them the man left behind a mysterious package, specifically addressed to Edla. The house was open. The family's valuables were unprotected. Yet the rat did not bite. Inside the crudely made rat trap, Edla finds the stolen 30 kroner, meant to be returned to the old crofter, along with a handwritten letter. The letter explains why he left the money. Because Edla treated him with the genuine respect of a real captain, even after she knew his secret, it gave him the strength to walk away from the bait. He signs the letter as Captain von Stale. By adopting the identity they mistakenly gave him, he has elevated himself to match the dignity he was shown. The peddler's hypothesis wasn't entirely wrong. The world does offer bait that leads to cages. But his story ends by showing that when a person is treated with the dignity of a captain, they might actually start acting like one. Notes that this chapter is in the description. Catch you next time.